Oh, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Manu Sabata, Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, Parliament returns from recess to packed parliamentary activities, including the return of the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill, vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, the presentation of the 2026 budget, and also the swearing in of two NDC MPs who were elected during the period of Parliament recess. Stay with us. We've got a conversation tonight. Also, former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo meets new Patriotic Party flag bearer hopefuls ahead of the crucial January 31, 2026 presidential primary. How important is this meeting in the scheme of things? We have a conversation tonight here. Also, unfortunate, after the incident in Garu yesterday, a curfew has been imposed on the town of Golompe and its environs in the Kintampo North municipality of the Bonois region following a violent clash between two groups. We're live in the area to assess the situation as we speak. We have this tonight and more. If you stay with us, as always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagbin, has referred the nomination of Paul Bafo-Boni as Chief Justice to the Appointments Committee for consideration. This is coming despite a suit filed by the former Chief Justice, Gertrude Tukonu, asking the High Court to stop the nomination and vetting of Justice Paul Bafo-Boni. The Appointments Committee, upon the referral by the Speaker, would consequentially schedule a date to vet Justice Bafo-Boni.
Following consultations with the Council of State, conveyed by its letter dated 14th October 2025, and in accordance with Article 144, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, I have the honor to respectfully submit for the approval of Parliament the nomination of Justice Paul Bafo-Boni as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana.
President John Mahama has announced the introduction of a strict weight restriction regime aimed at sanitizing discipline on the road and ensuring roads last for the period of existence at the sword curtain for the redevelopment of the Cape Coast Takoradi National Route in Takoradi as part of the Big Push agenda. The president says consultation will soon commence with transport owners on the introduction in the next budget reading by the finance minister.
There are trucks in this country that load 120 tons when the maximum load is supposed to be 50 tons. There is no road you can construct that will stand 20 tons per truck. I've told the roads minister, and it's going to be announced firmly in the budget. We'll consult the drivers' union, the transporters. We must implement weight restrictions so that the roads that we build can last.
Former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has met with the 5 presidential aspirants of the new Patriotic Party at his private residence in Accra to promote unity ahead of the party's presidential primaries on January 31, 2026. The meeting, convened by the former president, sought to strengthen solidarity among the aspirants and ensure a peaceful, issues-driven contest. Akufo-Addo urged them to conduct their campaigns with respect and focus on their policy ideas rather than personal attacks. In response, all 5 aspirants pledged to uphold a healthy and competitive campaign environment in the spirit of party unity. Gulumpet Township and its surrounding areas located within the Kintampo North municipality of the Bono East region are now under a mandatory curfew. This curfew, ordered by the Interior Minister, took effect since 4 p.m. and will end at 6 a.m. This is the new norm for residents until further notice. Escalating chieftaincy disputes culminating in a violent exchange left 4 individuals critically injured by gunfire and forced thousands of residents, primarily women and children, to flee their homes. Security forces have been deployed on the ground to actively stabilize the area. The trial of former Public Procurement Authority Chief Executive Ejeni Mboating Ejei resumed today at the High Court, with the Office of the Special Prosecutor calling its first witness, Lambert Lugunia, a senior legal officer at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ. Ejei faces 8 charges, including using public office for profit and influencing procurement processes for personal gain. The witness, who was part of SHRAJ's investigative team in the contract for sale case, presented a 188-page report titled Decision as Evidence.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279 and all across the world on 3news.com. As always, proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Quell, Kumtumto Preco. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, Parliament returns after recess. It's a packed agenda, and we'll just take a few of them and have a conversation. The sticky point in this packed agenda is the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill, which has circled back to Parliament. The Chief Justice, the nominees vetting, as well as the 2026 budget all take center stage in this session of Parliament's sitting. Now, this is one that indeed, in fact, the Parliament reconvening this time, you recall, was supposed to have been a week ago. It was postponed, as the Speaker indicated, for reasons beyond his control. Well, we got a new date today. Parliament is back in full swing after a long recess. Crucial items have been tabled and expected to be executed in this third session. By way of highlights, members of Parliament that's elect for Akwetia and Tamale Central, that's Bernard Bediako Beidu, and then also Professor Alidu Seidu were sworn in earlier today. So now they're recognized by Parliament and they're going to start their work. Those are the 2 gentlemen you see right there. And they took their oath, and we're going to hear them shortly, and the Speaker's commitment, in fact, to getting them to adhere to the rules of the House and his admonition to them to make the standing orders of Parliament their Bible for as long as they remain in the House.
I, Seydou Mahama Bediako Beidu, do in the name of the Almighty God swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana,
as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of Ghana,
that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of Ghana,
and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
So help me God.
So help me God.
We now take the oath of a member of Parliament. I,
Seydou Mahama Alidu,
having been elected a member of Parliament, do,
having been elected of a member of Parliament, do,
in the name of the Almighty God, swear,
in the name of the Almighty God, swear,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana,
as by law established, that I will uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana,
and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana,
and that I will faithfully
and
conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God.
So help me God.
Their journey starts today as members of Parliament representing their various constituencies, Akwatia, Tamale Central, and expectations of their constituents are high. But also a number of papers are expected to be presented and read for the first time, and one of them being the controversial Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, known as the Anti-LGBTQ+ Bill, which has been reintroduced with a bipartisan support. We're going to get into that shortly. But another issue as well, which is going to be an integral part of this session of Parliament, is the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, Justice Paul Bafuboni. This is one of the key moments to expect in this session. Today, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin, referring, Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, referring the nomination of Paul Bafuboni as Chief Justice to the Appointments Committee of Parliament for consideration. Let's take a listen to exactly what the Speaker said and how the coming days will look like. Take a look.
Nomination of Chief Justice. Following consultations with the Council of State, conveyed by its letter dated 14th October 2025, and in accordance with Article 144, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, I have the honor to respectfully submit for the approval of Parliament the nomination of Justice Paul Bafuboni as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Justice Bafuboni has distinguished himself through unwavering integrity, sound judicial temperament, and a deep commitment to the rule of law. Attached are the nominee's curriculum vitae and supporting documents to facilitate the vetting process.
That's the Speaker there. But the minority in Parliament is opposed to this development. Let's hear from Minority Leader Alexander Apenyoma-King earlier today.
While recent indicators show modest macroeconomic gains, these are yet to bring real relief to the ordinary citizen. The truth is, stabilization means little if the youth remain unemployed and families still struggle with the cost of living. Enough of the rhetorics. The 24-hour economy must not be an empty talk. Minority registers its unequivocal objection to the removal of the Chief Justice, Mrs. Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tokonu. We believe the process lacked transparency, violated constitutional principles, and set a dangerous precedent for judicial interference. Though we are 87, we assure the people of Ghana that we are firm in our conviction and will be able to hold this supermajority to account. We don't believe in numbers, we believe in substance, and will confront you with substance. Mr. Speaker, we are a proud, mighty few who will speak truth to power and work tirelessly. Mr. Speaker, guided by discipline, hard work, and our faith in God. When your party lost in 2000, you led a charge with fewer numbers, and within a short period, you made progress. We also inspired by what we saw in 2016, said that by 2020, your side had made progress.
Well, that's Alexander Apanyamaki, the full member of parliament minority leader there, clearly indicating their position on the nomination of the Chief Justice. The coming days is indeed one to watch on what the minority will do when this vetting process starts. You're going to stay with us here on Ghana Tonight because we follow this every step of the way. This Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, this anti-LGBTQ plus bill, this is the second time that this bill is going to have a taste of Parliament's debate and then also proceedings. Earlier, in 2021, when this entire process started, the politics of things and then also how the judiciary was called into the work of Parliament regarding this matter, a number of applications that were tabled in court and essentially restricting the Speaker from transmitting this bill to the President and also restricting the President from accepting, the then President John Nana Akufo-Addo from accepting it. We saw how things played out. These two cases were discharged of and were ruled upon, clearing the way. There are many who were also expecting that this matter would have been dealt with before the election because it was a crucial issue going into election 2024. And we will hear one of the proponents and the sponsors of this bill, his position on how this bill could have overturned the outcome of election 2024. And this, I'm talking about Reverend John Intim Fodio. He was part of the old sponsors. We tell me the old sponsor, the first set of sponsors of this anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Him together with the Honorable Samuel Natejo, who was frontal, is the now communications minister, MP for Ningo Prampram, Honorable Dela Adwoa-Sowa, Bepando Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Bejra, MP for Whole West, the Honorable John Intim Fodio, MP for St. South, was then the Deputy Education Minister, Al-Hassan Saibu Suin, MP for Tamale North, he's now a Deputy Roads Minister, the Honorable Rita Na Odole Sowa, Lada de Kotopon Member of Parliament, Helen Adwa Ntoso, Kratio West Member of Parliament, Nelson Roxon Dapiamepo is the current Majority Chief Whip and Member of Parliament for the South Dyke constituency. These were the first sponsors, 8 sponsors of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill in the first instance when this bill was first laid in Parliament. But we are seeing a different set of sponsors of this private member's motion or this bill. There are few of them who retain their interest in this particular bill. And remember, when this bill, the debate was ongoing in Parliament, it was a unanimous one. We didn't see any opposition to the bill, at least by members of Parliament who were present on the day. But we are seeing the second time this bill is coming to Parliament having some different faces as the sponsors of the bill. John Etim Fodio is there. He was there in the first set of the sponsors. He is here in this new set who have gotten this bill reintroduced into the business of the House. This session is going to have to consider that, this Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. So the first was 2021. Reverend John Etim Fodio, the MP for St. South, is there as a sponsor. Samuel Nate George is there as well. The current communications minister is also a member of the group of MPs sponsoring this private member's bill. Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra is there as well. Helena John Tosso is there. Then there's a new person who's coming. Vincent Akowasefua, the old Tafo member of parliament, the former deputy minister of local government. Here's the latest addition to the list of sponsors of this Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. Nuruddin Mohammed Mumuni, the MP for Narirugu Gambaga constituency, is a new person as well. Al-Hassan Tampoli, the MP for Gusheu, is also another new face. Rita now Dole Sowa, previous also being seen in this second time. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, the Wale Wale member of parliament, is also a new face in this list of MPs sponsoring this bill. And then there's Anthony Mie, the MP for Odotobri constituency. So there are about 5 persons now bringing the number to 10 from the previous 8 MPs who first sponsors this bill in 2021. Now we have 10 MPs who are sponsoring this new bill, Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. And I say this is a new bill because, as we do know, by the rules of Parliament, when a bill before the House is not passed into law and accented to, the entire bill dies with the life of that parliament. So this process is going to have to start all over again. This is why I bring Adam Senanu, is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. But for this conversation, he is the lead advocate for the Advocates for Christ. They were one of the organizations that supported this bill and the campaign for this bill to be passed. He's joining us on Zoom right now. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Now, this anti-LGBTQ plus bill has circled back to Parliament, and we are seeing it again. How do you expect things to play out now in the coming days? Because now there's quite some time.
Well, yes. I mean, as far back as late last year, we were aware that we were going to end up with potentially 2 options. One was, and I think basically beginning, late last year to beginning this year, was either that the president was going to have a government-sponsored version, which we needed to decide whether it would align with, or as the Speaker of Parliament had said, he would re-trigger pick the old one, re-trigger a process to fast track it through Parliament, given that they had done their part and they had actually passed it. It was the president who refused to receive. So we've been aware that there were these 2 options, and many of us were kind of inclined towards the Speaker's version of re-triggering it, because we knew they have control. Parliament that had worked with us already on it would have control, and it meant that we're not to entirely throw away what had already been put in as content. So I'm happy to note that the commitment by the Speaker that he would re-trigger has come to pass, and I'm quite sure that in the same vein as the commitments he made, that he would make it a much faster process based on the fact that this is their own document, is likely to be what transpires as it goes through the processes in Parliament.
That reference that you made to the position that the president had earlier suggested, I want us to take a listen to exactly what the president said. In this proposal, you referenced that he's thinking, in his view as well, that it could be considered to be, instead of a private member's bill, it would be a government-backed bill, so that the bill, if it's going to be reintroduced, which we're seeing now, would be one that is initiated by government and not private members. This is what the president said when he was at the Catholic Bishops' Conference, I think, when he assumed office, called on him. Take a look.
President, military president, then he became civilian president. the first time the transition from one party to another took place. I had been Minister of Communications at the time, and I knew what happened. So it looks like it's become a tradition that is continuing to, happen. And so we need to see how we can arrest the situation. So we'll take note of that. And I think that together we can find a solution to it. I've appealed several times to people to, act differently and not do the same things that happened before, because the people of Ghana repose a certain confidence in us that we do things differently. And so imagine, say, because these people did it at this time, we also are going to do the same thing. And so the invading of government offices, going to take over government offices and things must stop. Ministers are being appointed. Once they take office, all this is going to unfold in an orderly manner. And so I once again reiterate my call to all the people who are doing that to stop. With regards to the proper human sexuality, and it's quite a long name, proper family values bill. If you remember, there was a court case that injected the speaker from forwarding it to the president, and also restrained the president from receiving the bill. Eventually, that case was disposed of in December, I think on the 18th or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it meant that the injunction had been cleared. But as far as I know, the bill did not get to the president for assent. And so the convention is that all bills that are not assented to before the expiration of the life of Parliament expire. And so that bill effectively is dead, it has expired. I don't know what the promoters of the bill intend to do, but I do think that we should have a conversation on it again, so that all of us, if we decide to move that bill forward, move it forward with a consensus. And probably it shouldn't be a private member's bill, it probably should be a government bill with government behind it after consultation with all the stakeholders to see how we're able to move this forward.
So, Mensano, that was the president's proposal, that the proponents of this bill, the sponsors, sit down, have a conversation, so that instead of it coming in the form of a private member's bill, as we have seen it come again, the second time, he was proposing a government-backed bill, that government will back it with its powers to go to Parliament. But now we're seeing it take the form again of a private member's bill. For you, the proponents of this bill, the supporters of this bill, what would you have supported?
What I alluded to, that from the end of last year and essentially at the beginning of this year, we were already aware of two options. One was the government-sponsored version, which the president has spoken to. The second was the speaker saying he'll pick the old bill, which they had already worked on, re-trigger it, and enable it to go much faster through the process in Parliament. And given the level of work that might have had to be done, if it was government-sponsored, it was likely to start from scratch and so on and so forth. I know many of us were inclined to go with the speaker's option. What the case has been is that we've been waiting to see whether the government-sponsored version will take off. Initially, we had been told we would have some engagement with the AG, which never actually transpired. So we are happy to know that the speaker has proceeded with what he had committed to doing. And we are quite sure that that process would then mean that it will not take as long as it would have been if it were government-sponsored.
So if you talk about, so your concern is about how long it would have been or it would have taken if it was a government-sponsored one. Now we're seeing it private members. How long are you expecting this process to take before this bill becomes law or is assented to?
I think that their intention, if I'm right, is by the end of this year. It certainly is not beyond the middle of next year. So maybe we should check the rapportage. But what I remember, I suspect that the intention is to look not beyond the middle of next year. I think they are targeting by the time they rise. Because you should remember that this was 3 years of work. At the end, when it was passed on the 28th of February in 2024, 2024, it was a consensus decision. There was no exceptions. So the only failure was the president refused to receive it. An issue which some of us still believe that we need to take it to court because it creates a lacuna which could set a bad precedent for the future because there was no constitutional basis as far as we are concerned for that to have happened. So from the parliamentary end, with the speaker still in the seat, we have a lot of confidence.
Talking about the confidence,
specific speaker.
Right, they're talking about the confidence that you have, that the timeline you give by end of next year, June, you say, that's the timeline, all things being equal. But then again, this is subject to the absence of any court proceedings, any attempt to injunct the process and so on, isn't it?
Well, it's not our timeline. I am saying that if my information is right, the thinking, I don't think that the intention was to go beyond the middle of next year. I suspect I heard somebody say that even if possible by the end of the year. So that is the parliamentary discussion, the information we've received so far. But critically, obviously, all of these are subject to if somebody wants to attempt some legal processes. Mind you, I mean, even the previous one, remember when the court processes were triggered? One of the things that we didn't understand was how the case was never prioritized from was it March? From March all the way, March or April all the way down to elections in December. Nothing substantive happened. I think it was November, and then it was deferred or something. But one cannot say that there may not be some attempts, even though premature, because to all extents and purposes, even at the time, we're saying until the president had received it, there was nothing substantive before the president. So which document were we taken to court? But I'm sure those are legal issues.
There are legal issues, and this is one that would watch as well going forward. But then on this particular bill, this is what Reverend Ntim Fordjo, who is also a sponsor of this bill, said in that interview with City FM. He said, quote, if former President Akufo-Addo had been able to sign this anti-LGBTQ plus bill, it would have served this nation a lot better, and it would have even enhanced the image of the NPP. And I dare say that the outcome of the election in 2024 would have been different. It would have been different. The outcome would have been different. And he said way before that we voted or went to the polls. Now, let's take a listen to this and exactly what the position, and then we'll take a listen to Dr. Rashid Rahman right now on another issue. Take a look.
Even when I was Deputy Minister of Education, when my government was in power, I was very bold and vocal every stage of the enactment. And even when it was passed and the bill suffered legal challenges for which Parliament could not transmit it to the President, I was bold even to say that if these obstacles were removed and if President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had been able to sign this bill, it would have served this nation a lot better, and it would have even enhanced the image of my party. And I dare say that the outcome of the election in 2024 would have been different. Would have been different. It would have been different. The outcome would have been different. I've said it. way before, we even voted, after we voted, before handing over. I have said it so my position is consistent. My position then has not changed. It will not change now. And so let's all proceed with that consistent principle and do what is right for our country.
That's Reverend Tim Fojo there. But earlier today, the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Alban Sumanakis for Bagman, indicated that, in his view, there should be a consideration for annual leave days for members of Parliament, one that has attracted some reactions as well. But this was why he made this proposal. Take a look.
We say recess. They recede from plenary session to engage in the other functions of the House outside plenary session. So they don't go, members of Parliament don't go on holidays or vacation. They recede to continue to do the work of Member of Parliament. I think it's something that we have to consider, because the Labour Act expects that you should also have some leave. Some leave is done all over the world. Members of Parliament have leave so that you can rest. Those of us who have sacrificed all these years, we know how our families have been destroyed, because you never have time for your family. You never have time for people dear to your heart.
That's a speaker there, and Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Thank you for joining us. The speaker says, if you go on recess, you're expected to rest, but he says with the interaction and observation for the period, the MPs are still doing constituency work while on recess, so they don't rest. Annual leave days, that's what he's proposing. Is it worth considering?
Alfred, I think that this might have to be put in a much bigger context of the calendar that our parliament operates with. In many parliaments around the world, there is time for work in the House, in the chamber, and there is time designated specifically for work in the constituency. And so when members of Parliament, when Parliament is on recess, then it is time for members of Parliament to get some rest. They are human beings, so let's not forget that. So we might need to have a much bigger conversation as a country to look at how our Parliament operates, so that whenever Ghanaians complain that they are not in the chamber, we want to be sure that they are doing work in the constituency. But when they don't show up in the chamber and they are not in the constituency, and during the time that they have recess, of course, everybody would expect that they should be available for their constituents. And that is where the call by the Right Honourable Speaker might have to be put in a much bigger context. So the point I'm making is, perhaps we have gotten to a point as a country where we need to clearly look at the calendar of Parliament and say, from this period to this period, that is time that people have to be in the chamber for legislative work, for oversight and questions and so on. From this period to this period, everybody has to be in their constituency and attend to the needs of the people that they represent. And then clearly, between meetings, then it becomes holiday for members. Otherwise, right now, if we add this to the already long intervals between meetings, and if we are not careful, we might end up with a situation where there will be very little time left for legislative work.
And that's where the concern is, that how productive would this be, and how that would impact on the productivity of Parliament in the sense. in your view, if this is going to be considered in any way, then the absenteeism of the MPs should be checked so that they will be in the House all throughout the period of the session and not absent themselves. Then there could be consideration for this.
Yes, I think it's an argument in the right direction. I believe that before we get to the point of granting leave, as the Right Honourable Speaker is advocating, the leadership of Parliament might want to revisit the issue of absenteeism, because sometimes Parliament is its own undoing. Because when you take the cameras into the House and the House is empty, they are already on holiday. So when you add another holiday, then it means that sometimes there might be the suggestion that people are being rewarded already for doing no work. So first of all, the leadership must have to crack the whip and make sure that when Parliament is sitting, everybody shows up and work, and then they deserve a holiday. And again, I'll go back to maybe redesigning the legislative calendar, as I indicated earlier. But you see, Alfred, I think this conversation, we are having this conversation, I believe, mainly because of this chronic absenteeism that we see day in, day out, meeting after meeting, session after session of our legislature. And sometimes even beyond the leave, when important issues are being raised about the conditions of members of Parliament, the immediate thing that comes to the minds of most Ghanaians is the fact that the chamber is always empty. They do a lot of good work, but the optics of showing a chamber that is most of the time empty, I think is not good for our legislature. That needs to change.
The defense they gave is that if they are not in the chamber, that they are doing committee work. So it's not as though they are out of Parliament not doing the work expected of them. Dr. Rashid Rahman.
So I think if that is the case, again, just like how it's important to clearly define the time that people have to be in the chamber, the time that they have to be in the constituency, I think it's also important that we don't mix committee work with periods when members are supposed to be in the chamber, because as it is now, even though the new standing orders say that all committees can't sit in public, that is not operational yet. So what Ghanaians see, what you bring to all of us in our living rooms is what happens in plenary. So, like happens in many countries, there is time for committee work, there is time for constituency work, and there's time for plenary. And I think we are at a point in our legislative history that perhaps we might need to adopt this approach. I know in a place like Tanzania, they have a system like that. When committees are sitting, there is no work that happens in the chamber. And when the chamber is in session, nobody has any excuse that they are doing committee work. Then at least we are clear. There's clarity about where our members of Parliament should be at all times. And when we have a mixture, as we do right now, then even if somebody is not in the chamber, they could advance this argument.
Perfect.
But I think that is one that is not tenable.
Okay.
Or if it is, then the leadership might have to go back again to the drawing board and look at how the work of the House is organized.
Great. Dr. Rashid Rahman, thank you. He's a director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Coming up after this quick break, curfew hits Golompe after violent clashes between two groups rock the Kintampo North area. What sparked this violence or this unrest? We're live in the community on the ground tonight, and we'll have a security analyst also join us. Stay with us.
From gutters to innovation hubs, from pollution to prosperity, Ghana's
Welcome back. Golompe Township and its environs, located within the Kintampo North municipality of the Bono East region, are now under a mandatory curfew. Now, that's the community you see on the screen there. This curfew, ordered by the Interior Minister, took effect since 4 p.m. and will end 6 a.m. This is the new norm for residents until further notice. Escalating chieftaincy disputes culminating in a violent exchange left 4 individuals critically injured by gunfire and forced thousands of residents, primarily women and children, to flee their homes. Now, security forces have been deployed on the ground to actively stabilize the situation in the area. Now, that's the scene that you see there is what is happening right now in this particular community as we speak. Belinda Tete is our correspondent on the ground for us. She's connecting with us live from nearby community because of what's happening in there. Belinda, tell us, tonight you've been picking some information from your sources within the security agencies deployed there. What's the situation as we speak?
As we speak, before I left the community around 5:30, the curfew has already started, and there's a heavy security employment at Golompe, and so they were making their patrols, making sure that the curfew takes effect. And so as at 5:30, every movement halted. Everything that implies movement has halted around Golompe. So as it stands now, they are obliging by the curfew rules as I speak to you.
I see. But then again, you talk about the women and children who have had to flee the area. Now, any idea where they are fleeing to?
Yes. So this morning, when I got through the community, we even met some women who were loaded in trucks and chairs, and some were also loaded in the tricycles. Some moved to Kintampo, which is the nearest, safest community for them to reside currently. Some also moved towards Tamale. And so I'm told some are in Kintampo, some have also moved to Sechiman, and some have faced the Tamale road. So as we speak now, they are quite scattered. Some have moved towards Kintampo, and some have currently moved towards Tamale. But I spoke to the regional police commander, who tells me that with the curfew, the Ministry of Interior imposing the curfew on the community, they are going to make sure that the people comply by the rules of the curfew, And also, they are going to make sure that they maintain the peace and calm of the community so that the people who have fled the community can come back and start their life all over again. Let's listen to BCOP Ojo, who is the regional police commander.
We are going to ensure that they comply to the fullest so that there will be total peace. We don't want situation whereby, like we did yesterday, engaging them, talking to them, they understood themselves. And lo and behold, look at what happened this morning. So the imposing of the curfew is good. We are going to ensure that they comply, and then there will be total peace, absolute peace within the Olympic community. For the people returning into the community, is engagement. Those that are there, that is the husbands, their fathers, and other people, what have you, their brothers. So that is why we've engaged them and spoken to them that they should tell them that now.
Well, you hear that assurance given by the police commander there, and Richard Kumado is security analyst. Kumado, thank you for joining us. Now, this comes on the heels of what happened in Garu yesterday. Unfortunately, 4 people lost their lives. It had nothing to do with whatever the people came there to do, and then we are seeing this one, which is chieftaincy related. What should be the collective approach to analyzing and responding to what's happening in different parts of the country?
I think this persistence, existence of many of these community crashes is putting pressure on the national resources, particularly the police. It means that all of us, together with the police, we have a huge responsibility, and there's a lot of work to be done to maintain law and order within our inner communities. Then again, as community dwellers, we will need to work together to cohabit, because the devastating nature of the crime, particularly when guns are involved, and the influence it has on families and those who have been shot, is becoming a bit worrisome. And so that is why the police have the power to maintain law and order. But all of us, irrespective of whichever community we are living in, we will need to start building peace. We will need to start engaging ourselves, and we will need to start putting ourselves out there as community leaders who are determined to stay and build our communities so that we don't get up one day and our communities are torn into pieces.
See, and talk about the response mechanism. We've seen security personnel deployed there, as we're seeing on the screen right now, police personnel on the ground. Beyond that, what next?
No, I think as a nation, we lack the motivation of prosecuting people who flout our laws. And non-punishable of offenses will always rationalize bad behavior and promote antisocial tendencies in society. If you look at the nature and the sophistication of the guns they are using in many of these conflicts, if we don't retrieve the guns from these people and we don't prosecute them, then they may rationalize their behavior at the same place or at some other places. And I think we will need to find out what the root causes are and deal with it diplomatically. But then on the other side, once you shoot somebody and kill them, you've committed murder and you need that to be dealt with. We have not done it for a very long time. So gun violence is becoming one of the major security risks indicators we have at the National Security Secretariat.
So, Kumado, thank you so much for joining us, security analyst. Also to you, Belinda Tete, our correspondent in the area. Belinda, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. And tomorrow, we keep an eye on it because the curfew and 6 a.m., the residents will have their lives back, and then by later in the day, the curfew kicks in again. So we'll keep an eye on how things play out. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on 3FM 92.7 as well, at 6 a.m. with the team on Sunrise. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint.